Oh, Knuckles ready. It is Memorial Day. Well, Memorial Day weekend. How is everybody? I think they told me that I was live, and I told them I can't do nothing if I don't have a system, but I'm used to being, as they say, put on the spot. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the wounded veterans and the fallen veterans and the wounded soldiers, and to the families, and also to the loved ones. We never can think of the sacrifices that families have made, daughters and sons and grandsons and granddaughters that are even today watching over our country and for the freedom that we have. And to the veterans that we have lost, and to those that have served and dealing with all types of challenges from serving. I think this month was considered to be Mental Health Month, and sometimes we look at people, but we don't know their story. We don't know what they've been through and what they're going through and what plays out in their minds. So we are thankful, and I know it is insulting and it is hard when you are a family member and you see people acting as if though they don't understand the value of freedom. They don't know how to appreciate the respect and the peace, and not to be in war-torn situations. It is a tremendous blessing, and to all of those who've had fathers, and many people have grown up in the military, and to not have your father or your mother, and your mother serving and your father serving or your grandfather serve. So we have a tremendous responsibility to be good citizens and to honor those who have fallen and paid the ultimate sacrifice, and to those that are today that cannot celebrate a day because they are watching for our freedom. So anytime that you see a veteran, anytime that you see someone, you don't know their story, you don't know what they've been through, and the challenges of that the family has had to go through, the physical and the mental. So our prayers are for you, and we continue to thank God for you and to support you on this Memorial Day. I purpose not to be before you long, just want to have a simple conversation to relive and react some things. I oftentimes share with people that the whole goal of the House of Reconciliation is to identify, and as we get into the month of June, we're going to look at some things that we have to identify. I had a conversation with a young man after we were at the Greenville campus, and he said, I don't understand. I need you to help me to understand, how do I need to pray against me? And so I took the time and took some real life situations, and he said, now I see, because when you pray against yourself, you're asking God for the best of yourself. So when you pray against yourself, you're taking the excuses out, because if you go to Proverbs, I think it's 16:2, all the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes. And so you can feel justified. David is a prime example to us all of doing what we want to do, and what we want to do comes with a penalty. We were not created to be wild creatures. We were not created to be dysfunctional. We were created to worship God. All the ways of a man are clean. You know, I had someone to ask me, why would God allow those children to be killed? And someone else's response, they assisted me later and said, that was man, that wasn't God. See, and I said to them, here's the problem. What other way would God get your attention? We spend more time with our friends, we spend more time with ourselves, and we do us. And so sometimes the innocent pays a price that they shouldn't have to pay. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying, how else does God get your attention? I asked him, I said, where's your Bible? Can't find it. When the last time you prayed? Don't know. When the last time you've been to church? How does God get your attention? If he shows you the sun, the moons, and the stars every day of your life, if he presents you and I with breath in our body every day of our life, we tend to take those things for granted. The Bible talks about wickedness. The Bible talks about evil. But because we're so self-centered, we'll blame God. We blame God for the decisions we make. And so my response was, this is when we know we have to have a God, because some things are so terrible in life and in the world that it takes a God to help us to recover. See, because we look at God as for gifts and blessings and pig feet and chicken feet, and, you know, we look for God for money and houses and clothes. But are we truly worshiping God? And then we play the blame story. We blame in this. And so when you listen, this is why the Bible says all the ways of a man are good in his own eyes. When you listen to this group and this group says this, and you're like, oh, well, yeah. But you forget that your group was in the chair and didn't do anything. Then you forget another group was in the chair and didn't do anything. So you got to be careful how you allow the story to be told, and you have to be careful what you listen to. Because many people like to make things political. They made the pandemic, catching coronavirus, COVID-19. They made it political. Has nothing to do with God. It's just this group, and that group, and this group, and that group, and this, and this, and this, and this. And, well, I believe it. Well, where's your proof? I told them, and I'll tell you, and I'll tell the audience, we trust man more than we trust God. And we're living on God's earth. But a man can go up there and control the sun. Call me. When he can go up there and stop the sun from shining, call me. When he can take the air out of the earth, call me. When he has control of the earth spinning on an axle, call me. So we put too much trust in people who have nothing to do with our eternal spirit and our eternal destination. So church is almost the last place anybody want to go now. I thank God for all of you and for all of those that are part of the virtual campus for even clicking on, because right now we live in a society, whatever I think is right. I read an article early this morning about 2 a.m. that talked about now preachers are having and pastors are having difficult time because 65% of their church want the pastor to agree with their political views. And if you don't agree with our political views, we want to get rid of you. But then we'll turn around and say, separate state and church. But then we want you to say what we want you to say. Because all the ways of a man are good in his own eyes. Yeah, so now instead of listening to God, we want the preacher or the teacher or the pastor to be a parrot to tell our agenda. And here's the thing that kills me. The Bible says, and when I finished with them, they said, well, you know, I shouldn't have asked you. Well, you may not should have asked me. Because what you want is an excuse to blame God, but you don't never correct yourself, because people will stay home to hang out with their friends, but then they'll get to Jesus when they get to it. But let your mom get sick, let your dad get sick, let you have a something in your breast or something in your prostate or something in your foot, and now, oh God. Because when they don't have medication for it, oh God looking at you like, where you been? Dude, I'm here every day, 24/7, 65 days, 365 days out of the year. But all of a sudden now, you want to have a conversation with me, and you feel bad if Jesus said, I don't even know your name. And you wouldn't like an angel, because an angel would pull up the record and say, little Reggie ain't prayed since 1965. And then here come the other angel said they ain't paid no offering. But I want to say nothing on that one. Because the angels don't care nothing about it. They be like, and they've been stealing tithes. When the Bible says, and this is every preacher, because this is my show, and it ain't yours, get your own. Get your own. I tell people they get mad. I'm going to turn off. Do what you got to do, boo. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Because, listen, people can think about me and say what they want to say, but I ain't got but one person to please, and that's God. And when I see him, ain't none of y'all going to be there. And I will have a fit if God kicked me out over you. I'm going to be like, Jesus, can I go back to earth just for 2 minutes? I got somebody I got to see. I'm serious. I'm serious. We should be in church to clean up our lives, not to be in church to govern what the word says. Because the word will ruffle your feathers and hurt your feelings. That's the true word. We don't want the truth no more. So we just want to hire somebody going to say what we want to say. It may be more preachers going to hell than it is anybody else. Because up there ain't no cash machine to get the money back to give it to the church, and then you want to tell them the truth on the way out the door. You need to tell people the truth. He told Jeremiah, he said, don't look at the face of the people, because they'll make you quit. So I don't understand, and this is just my conversation with you. I don't understand people want to jump up in the pulpit, want to preach. Anybody can get up there and say something, cut and paste. Y'all can do a whole lot better than I can do. Yeah, you probably would like to do it, but you ain't who I am. And I'm going to do me. I quit trying to please people at 8 years old. Man, I said they can kick rocks. I'm going to do what God tells me to do. And as long as I do that, God will take care of me. And see, many of you are afraid to get in trouble with the devil. We talked to you this morning in a brief about friction. Okay? You can't grow and you can't mature without friction. Even a seed in the ground has to go against the norm. So as a young man talked to me today about changing his life, it's real simple. If you don't want the friction, then you can't fly. No plane has ever left Earth or left the ground without friction. No diamond has ever been given to someone, a woman or a man, and it didn't have to go through friction in order to be polished. You don't know how great you can be in life until you understand the value of friction. And most of us fold with friction. And in the month of June, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm going to teach from the great Thanos. I have a quote for him that I've been trying to bring up for a whole year. You all remember Thanos in the Endgame? Everybody thought Thanos was a villain. But Thanos had a message that could change your life, even though he took lives. Yes. What does that mean? Even when you feel like you're under attack, there's a lesson to be learned. Your enemy can teach you more than your friends. Because your friends tend to agree with you and not tell you the truth. Does this make sense? That don't mean you just go hook up with your enemy. You my enemy, you're going to teach me like that. Don't work out all the time. I said teach, not hang out with. Because when you look in the Bible, and for those who are scriptorial, you can look at Proverbs 16:27. I'm going to read it real quick. The ungodly man diggeth up evil. You got to figure out who you are. And most of us meet evil before we meet godliness. Evil leaves a stain on us, physically and spiritually. Proverbs 16:27, an ungodly man diggeth up stuff. There are people in your life that purposely cause you challenges and issues. Then the question would be, then why would you cause yourself challenges and issues by trying to handle someone else's challenge and issues? We don't have time to worry about what they're doing. It's going to take you and I, our entire life, to stay in the middle of the road with God. So it says, and his lips. See, most of us are not burned by what people do. We are still stinging from what people have said. It says, and his lips there are as burning fire. There are people who have said things to you that still haunt you to this day. I was reading an article, and that's why I like people that are in the psych world and physicians and people in the mental health, because I didn't understand. I'm still studying it. People get over physical pain a lot quicker than they do mental pain. Because mental pain leaves a scar or damage the neurons, if I'm saying this correctly, and they almost leave a bad trace going into the brain. The issue is, and it goes on to say, an ungodly man. So most of us, when we were born, we come up in an era where, and this is what, what's her name, Dr. Lisa Firestone says this type of coaching, which is considered violent coaching, is shaped from a painful childhood experiences, critical attitudes that we were exposed to early in life, as well as the feelings. I know a mother here who's 75 can understand, can relate to this. When our parents were around, we didn't know anything that they had feelings and emotions. Whatever they said was the law, whether it was right or wrong. Whatever you were taught, you were taught. Whatever you were fed, you were fed. We didn't know anything about having canola oil and peanut oil and all these type of oil. It was Lord. A lot of times it was just grease from a pig. And people cooked in there. And so we didn't know that was just life. That's what we were exposed to. That's what we were exposed to. Here's the whole point of Christ. We have to be born in Christ. This is when he talked to Nicodemus, and Nicodemus went to him highly educated and highly skilled and was highly recognized. And he says, except a man be born of the water and the Spirit. This ain't something you can pay your way in. So when he says this, he says, and she says, we were exposed early in life, as well as the feelings of our parents about themselves. While these attitudes may have been hurtful, you don't know why. You couldn't question. Like, we had some kids to vandalize the signs at the church and then denied it, lied. I didn't do it, and somebody got eyes on them. But somebody had an old grandfather that said, y'all done went too far. It's one thing to ride in the church parking lot. It's another thing to tear down the church signs. So it was a grandfather who went and got a hold of all the boys and found the sign. Said, now y'all know where y'all put that sign. See, sometime for you to move on, you got to go back and address some issues. And instead of addressing the issue in somebody and telling them how wrong they are, you've got to address the issues in you. You can't fix the other person. Neither does most of them even remember to say that they apologize for what they've done. And so our parents did the best they could. It's not we're trying to put them on the outside, but they had feelings and emotions about themselves. And when you have children, sometimes we yell at our children when we should be talking to our children. And yelling, you the one had them. Most of them just didn't show up on your doorstep. And instead of having picks and favors, we need to learn how to develop each child, because each child has a different mindset. And we don't know how hurtful it is to put one over the other. We don't understand that. And so mothers sometimes cower down because they have a son and they have a daughter, and now there's somebody new in your life. Listen, if they can't accept what you have, maybe they don't need to be in your life. No, I'm serious. Because we were considered Gentiles and Jesus took us in. There's nowhere in the New Testament where he calls us step brothers and sisters and half brothers and sisters and y'all were the heathens. He never said that. Then when I think it was Peter tried to say, oh, well, Lord, you know, they dirty, they eat pig. And Jesus said, whatever I've cleaned. And when Jesus cleaned you up, why do we keep acting like a second and a third class citizen? Because truly, some of us don't want to get rid of the stink that's on us. Some of us like that stink. Y'all can call this a stink message. Some of us like that stink. We like being bad. We like being in trouble. So he says this. He goes on and says, and as a forward man. So you have to understand, and I'm going to bring this in together in a minute. Because those who are about the exegesis and the hermeneutics and the hermeneutics, they like, we don't even like him. And you always have that right. But then you got a forward person who's so astray. Be careful of the bully in your life. There's some people who are bullies. You got to be careful of bullies. And then you got a whisper. There's someone that's always close to you. And then you got people who are violent. It says a violent man entrenches his neighbor and leadeth him away that is not good. Why am I saying this? We've had 3 months. Most people came together with a New Year's resolution. How far have you gotten with it? Okay, we talked about the number 4 was creation. How many of us have created and become creative to develop these new resolutions that we want to put in our life? Okay? Because I think I might be wrong. I don't have it all in my head. But I think the number 1 represents unity. Am I correct? Is unity number 1? All right. So if I'm not unified, body, mind, and spirit, then I'm going to struggle. Does that make sense? So then I have to be unified, body, mind, and spirit, and become one. The Bible uses the term, talk about getting on one accord. See, you've got to this is why I'm going to work on Thanos in the month of June, because we're not on one accord with the gifts that God has given us. So when I get on one accord, body, mind, and spirit, and this is when I talked to the young man, and he asked me after service, he says, what do you mean pray against yourself? Well, sometimes my body will keep my mind from doing what it needs to do because my body is craving something that it doesn't do good. So I have to bring my body and my mind under subjection to the Word and to the Spirit of God. Can I make it plain? You're having nightmares because we're not in line. The Bible never talks about that we should have nightmares. The Bible talks about that we should have dreams and vision. When you and I are in a nightmare, it is something that is going on psychologically that is trying to disturb our spirit. Because your dreams are linked to your soul. Your soul is linked to the Spirit of God. Something is interrupting that. One of these people here that is either the ungodly man, the forward man, the whispering man, the violent man, because here's what they do, and this is why I call this the hidden agenda and the secret. The adversary and the agitator don't want you to know, which means if I can keep you divided. So now if I was in, what was the number 4? We talked about it earlier in Greenville. I can't remember what the number 4 represented. Creation. So I should now, from the first 3 months and being in unity, created that I can live these new resolutions. See, Nicodemus couldn't come to God without changing. So then as I become unified and create and say these are the new behaviors, now I get the number 5, which is the month of grace, the number of grace, so I can learn to practice these new behaviors. So while I'm messing up, I get a chance to clean up because I can identify where I should be and where I fell back at. Now, the next step, as we get ready to enter June, it doesn't mean because you were born in June that you're this, that, the other, or anything like that, but the number 6 represents evil. Once you get grace, here comes Satan to upset you in 2 ways. Those 2 ways are spiritual challenges and earthly stumbling blocks. Why is that significant? Once you have gotten grace, now you're going to be challenged to see if you can hold on to the new patterns and to the new ways that you're setting in your life. Does this make sense? The number 7 means I should be perfecting this. So once I get past the violent coaching, I get over my past, I begin to reset my mind. I'm going to be challenged with this new path that I say that I'm going to follow. my new behavior is going to be challenged. If this is a month that I'm saying that I'm not going to do sodas, and I'm not going to do sugar, and I'm not going to do starch, and I'm not going to eat rice, this is going to be the month that you're going to crave rice, you're going to want sodas, and you're going to crave starch. Because you said that you were going to elevate yourself above it. So now the very thing that you think you can overcome, now you're going to show that you can overcome it. So now in the month of July, we should be able to perfect this. Why? Because after the number 7 becomes a new beginning. After a new beginning, which is the number 8, you go to number 9. Do you know what number 9 is? There is a time in your life you should start producing fruit. The number 9 represents the fruit of the Spirit. You remember love, joy, peace. Y'all thinking about cheeseburger, hot dogs, mac and cheese, barbecue mac and cheese, smoked chicken. You know. Who knows the 9? Is it 9 spirits? 9 fruits of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, tenderness, gentleness, goodness. What now? You say whiskey? No. Self-control, okay. It's number 10. It's a holiday. Yeah, who knows that? So these are the attributes in number 9. Am I making sense to you? The fruit of the Spirit is what? Love, joy, peace. Stop. Nobody wants what? Don't nobody want to suffer long. How long, Jesus? How long, Lord? Long suffering, gentleness, meekness, temperance. Against such what? See, when you get the Spirit, you shouldn't have to live by the law. Because everybody like, well, I'm going to flunk that one. You know? I still want to cut somebody, you know. But he says gentleness, love, meekness. Against such there's no what? Because now you're living truly with the Spirit of God that's resonating in you. And guess what happens after the month of number 9? It's the month of 10. Spiritually, numerically, it means now I am a living testimony. We're not going to pass this over. Do I? Okay. Wait a minute. This ain't looking promises. We got to produce 9 fruits. We're in a little shock right now. Okay, that's it. I like that. We're in a little shock right now. I wonder if the audience, you're all in a little shock right now. You know, I'm thinking about cheeseburger. I got some fish laid out. I'm gonna have some barbecue fish. You know, because you know this is the day you put barbecue on everything. You know, some people got some hog knuckles and pig feet, and you know, I don't have no chitlins right now. It's a little hot for that. Do that in the wintertime. You know, but so it's a little shock. So now, here's the thing. When the new day comes, I should be developing a new spirit. Now the Spirit should become a testimony. And so as I prepare to enter in, if the Lord's willing, 2023, I shouldn't be asking for the same things that I asked for in 2022. Because the number 12, I can't remember what the number 11 means. But the number 12 means governmental order, which means now this is a principle in my life. See, because we hadn't got to this yet, and I'm getting ready to close, the number 20 means redemption. We're still angry. We're still sad. We're still upset with people. We're still holding grudges. And if we are, it is because we have hardened our heart against God. And one of the pure ways is, what has God done for me lately? And the real question is, have you been worshiping God? If you've been worshiping God through your spirit and not through your traditions, See, because traditions make the word of God of no effect. And I battled with that for some years. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not saying all, most denominations don't teach you and I about spirituality. They teach you rules, do's and don'ts, and requirements. But do they teach you how to grow? Because God said, for God is a spirit, and they who? Who you thought he was talking to, the animals? Well, I help the poor, and I feed the hungry, and I teach the church. Is that worship, or you counting it as a job? Well, there ain't nothing for me to do in church. Yes, it is. Worship God. And then I ask the church, what is it I can do? What role can I play? Mighty quiet in the sanctified church. Lord, how can my life be a witness and a service to you and a witness to humanity that if God can change me, then he can change anybody? But when does the journey start? When I feel better and like myself? When I kill all my enemies? When does the journey start? But I'm trying to get myself together. Well, when does the journey start? Some people been saying they're going to get themselves together for the last 10 years. I'm gonna do better. It's the time now to do better. Because you have seeds that have yet not been planted, so you can't reap a harvest that was in your innate inheritance from God. You can't receive it. Because until you're willing to take care of the vineyard, then it's not there for you. Did this make sense? I just wanted to share with you because we were supposed to be talking about today the resetting of my mind. See, don't ever let anybody tell you you don't have purpose. Every month you have a purpose. Every month there's a reason for the spiritual numerical order that God has in your life. And here's the part that I've never been able to get to, and we're in the 6 months of 2022. You know what 22 represents? And I know it sounds like I'm smart, but those that are analytical and wants hermeneutics and hermeneutics and the exegesis of the Bible that they think I don't know, I do know them, but if I went there, you probably couldn't handle it. But I promise you on the 16th of June, I'm going to do it. I'm going to preach what the preacher want to hear. Yeah, but right now I'm talking to people who want to get their lives together. You know, ain't nothing like preaching to a bunch of preachers. They're all, well, say, what do they say? Is that in the book? Oh, he didn't use the proper exegesis of that. And what was the Greek word to that? Well, I think that was one from the Chaldeans that he should have used. Give them 3 minutes of that, and then we're going to have church. But I'm just saying, your life is critical. It's time for you to get out of everybody else's business and work on your soul's salvation. So as you get ready to go barbecue, think about me. I'm pretty much now trying to be a fish eater. 22 stands for life. It means live. Now here's the problem. You can't live if you can't breathe. 22 means live, but 22 has breath in it, which means most people, even coming out of the pandemic, have yet to exhale. Before you can breathe, you have to exhale in order to get fresh, what is the word I keep tearing up? Oxygen in your body. So what it means, if you're not ready to let go of what was, you cannot breathe in today's life. It says 22 means you should be having a tremendous life. Don't talk about things and cars and houses, but I'm just, I can breathe in God. All the people around you can be crazy and dysfunctional, but I, my brothers and sisters, I can breathe in the word of God. So when Satan comes up, you can just breathe the scripture, and so it's life, and we should be living. Instead, we're still struggling. We're still surviving. We're still in conflict. We're not redeeming anything. Ask me why, because I know you always like to ask questions. Why? Because we're always talking about the past. And if Uncle Bucky would have never rode off with the family mule, we could have plowed that field that summer. If Big Tim wouldn't have left with the family car, we ain't seen him since he left. We could have went to town. And God is saying, you can't fix a place that you no longer live. Do y'all want something real deep real quick? And we're going to go. So I can get a barbecue drumstick or something. Let me give you this about Thanos, because I know there's some people ears perked up when I said Thanos. Okay, this is Thanos. Real quick. This is what we're going to deal with in the month of June. Where do you stand? In the past, stuck in the present, and absence of a future. Here's what the supervillain in the end game said, Thanos, because you know they went back to try to fight Thanos, to trick Thanos. Here's what he says. As long as there are those who can't let go of the past, they will always hinder those who are trying to embrace what could be. See, this is what I'm going to read again. As long as there are those who can't let go of the past, they will always hinder those who are trying to embrace what could be, the present, and a great future. And what he was saying, that the Avengers came back because they couldn't with their guilt. How many times have you gone back to something out of guilt? He said to them when they were lining up and getting ready to, he said, you couldn't handle your own guilt. That's why you went back and did all this and tried to come back in time to change it. He says, as long as there are those who can't let go of the past, they will always hinder those who are trying to embrace what could be, a great future. There are people that's ungodly that see God's hand and vision on your life. You got outside enemies, you got inside enemies, and then you got a spiritual enemy within yourself. Your own body has a gift with the talents that God has given you. You want me to give you proof? If you look at most famous people, musicians or whatever, they have all these kinds of addictions. They can be beautiful, naturally beautiful, but they want to have all of this cosmetic surgery. They want to have all of this body fix and all, because they don't want to live in reality. They have put their life in a frame. Your life was not meant to live in a frame. Your life was meant to enjoy the world. So Thanos, this is what I'm going to teach. Where do you stand? In the past, in the present, or building for the future? The great supervillain in the end game, Thanos said, as long as you can't deal with your guilt, as long as there are those who can't let go of the past, they will always hinder those who are trying to embrace what could be. Isn't that interesting? And he was the great supervillain in the end game, because they couldn't embrace that they made mistakes and they lost loved ones. They wanted to go back and bring everybody back, and everybody didn't get a chance to come back. So as long as you and I keep dabbling in the past and trying to fix and make up to a son and make up to a daughter and make up to a mama and make up to a daddy and still holding guilt, your child is old enough to know, yeah, mom and dad wasn't perfect, but they wasn't the worst things in the world, but you still holding guilt over your head. Y'all, that hit real low, didn't it? He could have let us at least taste our chicken drumstick. He done knocked the drumstick out of our mouth right there. He done went to talking about our babies. Am I telling you the truth? Because I've said it to my kids. I was not the best father. Your daddy was struggling with stuff. Okay? Stupidity. And really he was struggling with his own self. And so when I learned that I had to pray against me, I had to pray against the sins of my father's father that were in me. I had to pray against the anger and the short-temperedness and the out of control and I'm going to do me. I had to pray against it. Look, honey, you're looking at a miracle because this thing right here was ignorant. Okay, this thing right here wasn't no trophy case. Okay? You see me after I got saved. You didn't want to know me before the Lord really got his hands on me. And there ain't no telling what I would have done and wouldn't do and didn't do. So if anybody bring up my past, I'd be like, you're probably right. That's where I was. That's not where I'm going. Did I help you today? All right. Let's get up so we can get that chicken leg. Let us stand. Somebody got some barbecue? Have some. If you're going to barbecue, have some good barbecue now. I don't have no just crazy barbecue. Don't have no cheap barbecue.